So I do realize I'm dealing with a really niche audience when it comes to this video. This is going to be useful for people who have Fyreslayer bits laying around and are building Bretonnians, or maybe for people like me who are obsessed with building unique knights and are willing to spend way too much money to make it happen. But this video will walk you through making a really cool knight with Fyreslayer bits. Alright, so first you need a Bretonnian Knight helmet with an ornament that's easy to remove. Some of them are harder than others. This one's one of the more easy ones, so it's good for modification. And then grab one of these Fyreslayer head ornaments as well. We're going to flatten that out and ultimately have it sit on top of the Bretonnian Knight helm. Which is all easy enough. We're going to start with our handy clippers and get this ornament off the knight's helm as close to the top of the bucket helm as we can. Snip it off, it's going to go flying, we don't care, we don't need it. And now we're just going to smooth this out a little bit. And then just test fit the Fyreslayer ornament and just test how far you need to cut it out, smooth it out, what you need to do to make it look good. Ultimately, I didn't use this bit, I used another one I thought looked better. You'll see that in the next little video segment. And that one needed a bit more cutting back. On that one, I actually cut back the head ornament at the first break of the mohawk, and that way the dragon's not so overhanging, it looks a bit more natural. So do more experimenting and find out what works best. And then once you're happy with it, do a little dry fitting, make sure it looks good. Now remember, we're going to use plastic glue here, which is going to melt the ornament into the helmet. So if things look a little rough on the bottom, it's okay, it's all going to melt together and look more natural. But for my dry fitting, I do see that I got some areas on his hat that's not necessarily as level as I need him to be, so I'm just going to clean up a little bit, and then I'm going to glue it. Once the glue is applied, just be very careful to make sure you have the ornament where you want it. You want it centered, facing forward, not crooked. And then once you have it, set the piece down and let it dry for a few hours. Then of course, once the head is dry, put it on the body, and then it's ready to be primed. I'm going to try to very quickly cover how I painted the knight because I do think it turned out really well. I started out with this dead white, which I did on all white pieces of the miniature. This is going to have a red and white color scheme. So dead white for anything that I wanted to be white that's not cloth, and then trooper white from 2 thin coats is what I used as a base for any cloth that was going to be white. Just going to add some white trim here, as well as do the cloth on his helmet in white. It's just going to help break up the model a little bit, otherwise there's going to be a lot of red between his robes and the comparison of the horse. We'll give him some white pants as well. Next I did a base layer of all the metal bits. I'm using Iron Hands from GW here. Other metallic colors work, Lead Belcher is fine. Iron Warriors will give you a darker metal color. Two Thin Coats also has nice metal colors, just, you know, just do it right, what looks like steel. To follow up, I'm just going to take some Evil Sun Scarlet. I'm going to do the cloth on this knight, leaving a little bit of straight white trim on the bottom of his robes, and then alternating the white and black on the wrap of the cloth on his great helm, his bucket helm. I also did some shading with the robe using some Nuln oil on the white. I used Soul Blight Gray for the shading before I went over it again with a higher color. And then I did all the trim. There's a little bit extra on this one, but I used, corn red for the heart, so it's a little bit different kind of red. I tried to get the cage around it to be a nice shiny brassy metal. I did all the fleur-de-lises on the knight, like in a bright gold. Pretty standard stuff. Next, I added the second color to the lance. I'm adding some red to it, and you get like kind of a pretty cool candy cane effect here. I won't spend a lot of time going over this. If you're interested in how I did this, watch the other video I did about how to paint your lances. I use the same techniques here as I did in that video. For the head ornament, I'm using a base coat here of Cerakote Silver from Two Thin Coats, just to give a nice kind of bright silvery tone to it. And then I'm going to go back and do the highlighted areas of the dragon in gold. So I did the silver, and then I washed the recesses to make it a little bit darker in there. And now I'm just going to hit all the raised edges of this dragon head ornament with the Retributor Armor Gold. This will help make the small, intricate details of this headpiece really stand out, even though it has a small size. At this point on the knight, we're really just looking at shading the armor and shading the cloth. Right here I'm using some wild white or red, and that's how I'm going to highlight my reds. If you still need the white highlighted after the wash, I usually just hit it with the base color again, raise those up. There's no really point in going higher there. And of course, if you can do a lighter shade of metal over the metal chosen the first time too, in raised areas, it's going to give some model some depth as well. The horse is painted in much the same fashion the knight was. I'm using this Evil Sun Scarlet as the base color for the cloth. I'm using either dead white or trooper white where it fits to add white to the horse. And if you want to know how I did the leather or the skin tone, this is actually the horse. The black horse I used in my horse painting video, so if you want to see that, just follow the link and there's an in-depth guide on every step. And all that's really left after the horse is basically applying the decals to the shield for the heraldry and getting the rider on the horse. In this case, I'm using these Games Workshop decals. These are from the Salamander's Space Marine chapter. And I'm going to make use of them as heraldry for my Bretonnian Knight here. I'm always on the hunt for unique heraldry, and sometimes just gotta get a little creative. But once positioned where I like it, I'm just going to add some micro set over this decal and let it dry and do the rest of them. And when you're done, you should get something like this. That head ornament easily fits in with like a dwarven theme or possibly a lizardman theme. If you're a kind of person who really cares about the background of your knights, you could say he won spurs, fighting lizardmen or dwarves or even helping dwarves. Either way, you got a cool knight that'll stand out from most other people's. As always, if you made it this far, thanks for watching.